Right. So for those of you who don't know, there was a Red Table Talk. Jada, her mom's sister, her daughter, they all sat down with Amber Rose, Rumor Willis, and I can't think of the black guy's name, but he was a former NFL player. He's like been big on sexual consent, things like that. Excuse me. So basically, the conversation surrounded certain situations women were placed in, I should say, where they may have had sex with a man that they necessarily didn't want to, but they didn't let the man know that they didn't want to. So, like just like to start here and say, if a woman tells you no, then it's no, guys.
Right.
That's just.
That's
I think we all agree.
and that should be simple, but it's not simple for everyone.
Right, it's not. Sadly,
but that should be simple. It's like, all right, no, I'm out of here. Whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. So no means no. We all know that.
Right.
So basically, these women were describing situations, and apparently 1 out of 3 women have admitted to having sex with a man they necessarily didn't want to, which is like mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
So basically, it was described in one of the stories as, they were out on a date. The young lady enjoyed her time. I'm assuming this is her first time with this gentleman.
Yeah.
She was enjoying herself. They had a great time. He drove her home, got to her house. They're in front of the door. They're kissing or whatever. She invites him into the house. After dark, after the date, she invites him into the house. So I'm going to stop there. At that point,
most men are going to assume.
Right. Most men are going to assume that, something is going to lead to something.
Right.
So obviously the women had a issue with that right there. The assuming part.
Which, in any situation, an assumption is typically not the right way to go.
True.
So I understand why people thinking that you shouldn't assume that because you got brought in that you're going to have sex.
Right.
I understand that because you shouldn't assume.
Right.
So I get where they coming from on that part of it, but
right. So
it's a normal assumption.
Right. So she says they get into the house. The moment they get into the house, he starts to get aggressive, take her clothes off, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
She said before she knows it, she's standing in front of him naked, and he makes his advance, and they end up having sex. Although deep down inside, she didn't want to.
Yeah.
So
that's a sticky situation.
Yeah, it is.
It's tough, man.
And I'm going to present you guys with maybe 3 different situations, maybe 2. So that's one situation where you're out on a date and you're invited into the home by the young lady. The second situation is being in a relationship with someone you've had sex with multiple times.
Right.
You've had sex with this person multiple times. They come home, say you've had a long day from work. Not necessarily in the mood. Don't really feel like doing it. But you've been with this person. They make an advance. You don't tell them that you don't feel like doing it.
Right.
You end up having sex with them anyway. Me personally, I don't think that's rape because we're in a relationship, number one. But if you're feeling like you don't want to, and I make an advance and you're uncomfortable in that advance, whether we're in a relationship or not, I feel like as a man, I would want to know that information.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And that's the thing why I guess they called it a gray area or gray
That's
lighting
that's
or
the gray
shit.
area
It's
when you're
like,
in a relationship and it happens.
For me, in that situation, like I'm going into it wanting to enjoy it to this maximum enjoyment.
Right.
I want it to be interactive because I want to fucking enjoy it. It's not just like, all right, let me get one off. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't, I would want to know like, all right, I ain't into it tonight. So I can just go on about my business and not, waste everybody's time.
Right.
I was just about to ask, like, when you be able to tell that.
You should be able to tell.
Like,
as a man,
if you know your woman, like, you'll be able to tell. You'll be like, all right.
You should be able to tell.
I'm glad you brought that up. So say it's the first date with a woman. Would you be able to tell? I think me personally, I'd be able to tell if my advances are not being accepted. Because, you can kiss a woman in her neck and, they'll react a certain way. If she's not physically touching you back or touching you there, we all know what there is. What I mean by there. If she's not going there with it, you know what I mean, showing you that, like, it can go there, then I'm going to just, wait on her to make the advance. But that's just me. And so how do you judge that situation
and for me, I think just and it could have just been subconscious. Like growing up where I grew up, dating primarily white girls my entire life, you know, teenage life and into my early 20s, I always had to have a heightened level of cautiousness because those situations can go bad, like without it even being a bad situation. That gray, that shit's black and fucking white in that world. You know what I'm saying? That shit is never gray. So I think I always had a heightened level of like sense to that to understand like, all right, nah, this girl just wants to fucking kiss me for 4 hours. She doesn't want to do anything else. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? Like I always kind of knew in those situations like, nah, this ain't going nowhere else. You know what I mean? Just because I had to, because it was black and white.
And I've had one night stands, but I'm just not that cool of a guy to just talk a girl out of her pants.
Right.
Like, I'm just not that cool, guys. Like, I can be honest here. I'm just not that cool. It just doesn't happen. Cool. Yeah, it just doesn't happen as often as people think it does.
Yeah.
I think women have. I'm not gonna say that.
I don't.
I know where you was going.
Cut that out, J-Ro.
I don't think it happens as often as most people say it does, or most people think it does.
Right.
It doesn't happen that often. Maybe in today's world, I don't know. It's a little wild now.
Touching the weenus. All right, so like I said, Amber Rose was there too. She explained a conversation or a situation where she was breaking off a relationship with someone she had been with 2 years. Anyone like into the music business knows that she had a 2-year relationship with Kanye.
Right.
It's also a song called Blame Game on his album that kind of confirms what she was describing in the video. Basically, she said she was breaking it off with him, didn't want to be with him anymore. At that time, he became aggressive, like, you know, you're not going anywhere, whatever, and had sex with her. You know, she said she felt violated, which she should, you know, in that situation. Yeah. In this particular situation, I don't think there's a real gray area. Because whether I'm in a relationship with you or not, if you come on to me or touch me after an emotional conversation like that where I'm saying I don't want to be with you.
Right.
You know, what makes you think sex is going to change my mind?
But honestly, I personally think that this situation is extremely common. What she's saying.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's extremely common.
And sadly, I think we're to blame for that. I think it's because, you know, growing up where we come from, inner cities and things like that, it's almost taught that the women are like ours.
Absolutely.
And we're entitled to them. Like, all these girls out here have pussy and you can just get it if you're cool enough or if you're, you know what I mean?
No, that's the perception.
Yeah, so, yeah, like to bounce off of what you were saying. Yeah, and I've done that before. Like, it wasn't a rape thing. She didn't tell me no, but I've tried to use sex to work my way back into a situation. That's the honest opinion.
Right.
I mean, the honest truth. And just with the sexual consent conversation altogether, I even asked my girl, I said, yo, like, ever come a time where I came on to you and you wasn't feeling it or anything like that? And she was like, no. I just had to ask after watching that video because it kind of like made me cringe.
Yeah, thinking, no, and it is something to think about. And I feel like me and my girl know each other enough to where we both know when, like, nah, it ain't going down. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it's just like, all right, we just go to sleep.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Try again another day.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, today's not the day.
Maybe later.
Right. So, hearing all of this, how do you think we can educate other men moving forward on the signs to look for? Because, you know, you don't want guys just out here not necessarily taking it, but if the woman doesn't want you in that way and she feels like it's going to hurt your ego if she says no or make you feel bad if she says not right now.
Right.
Like, how do we go about changing that?
Anybody else want to go first?
I was just going to say pay attention, like read body language.
That's it.
You know?
And anything, just said that and anything like when it comes from man to woman, if you want to be with a woman, like if you want to just do what you do,
right?
You never have to take it.
Yeah.
You
for sure.
No matter who you are,
no
matter what you got going on, all you have to do is pay attention to her. If she's available and you pay attention to her, and I mean really fucking pay attention,
right,
you can have her. Because that's all women want.
yeah,
Is somebody to fucking pay attention to them, but really pay attention.
Right.